In this video we're now going to work on the navmesh to get it to be a little bit more accurate and ensure that the characters cannot walk on the water. Okay, but before I get into that, I've just checked my system and I had to make a small change to enemy number 6. I had to change his stopping distance under the navmesh agent down to 0.8 as I realised that he was never making contact with that first target, so he was actually stopping once he got to his first target. By reducing that stopping distance it got him working again. Okay, so you may need to do that. So let's try and zoom out a little bit and let's click on the navigation tab. Now if you don't currently have that docked, obviously that's just under Window and it's under AI and navigation. Okay, we click on object and we can see that there is our walkable areas in blue. Now let's just click terrain. If you can't find terrain, just type it in the search. Click inspector and let's just switch off the terrain and go back to navigation. Okay, so it's relatively good. We've got some weird stuff going on in the water that we're going to fix. But generally most of it is pretty good. However, it could be a lot better. What I'm looking for at the moment is any areas that are overly complicated, that force the character to make some really weird movements. Most of it's pretty good. Obviously there's quite a lot of complexity. Any of these areas where you're seeing these holes are where the trees are in the terrain, or there might be some rocks as well. Okay, so here is an example of something that is a little bit overly complex. This bridge. Alright, if the character wanted to cross over the bridge, he would have to basically follow this navmesh. So he'd make this sort of a motion. Alright, which is really weird. You just want him to walk straight across the bridge. So wherever we find sections like that, I'm going to show you how to fix that and make that a lot easier to navigate across. But looking at it, I think potentially that bridge is the only thing there. We've got another one with a bridge there. I'm not too worried about that really, because I don't want the enemy characters to actually follow our main player into that area there. So I'm gonna ignore that one. Everything else seems really good actually. Now as we get close to one of these buildings, we want to make sure that the characters can enter the buildings and can even go upstairs and sort of walk around all of the rooms. So it's just making sure that all of those blue sections are properly connected to each other. At the moment there's a few small breaks here and there in various bits and pieces. So I'll show you how we can fix that. So we only have one area that I need to show you how to fix, and that is that bridge. If I can find it again. There it is. Okay, so it's just this little bridge. There is actually a second bridge there as well. So I'll show you how to do this one. You can fix the second one or any other bridge that you want. Okay, so first of all, with the terrain, I'm going to switch this back on so that I can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to click on this bridge so that I've got that selected. I know where it is now. And I'm going to go to Game Object and we're going to create just a simple cube. Now let's click Game Object and align with View so that it's closer to where we need it to be. And we're going to use this in order to get this straight walking path down here. Now let's just rotate this around so that it is actually straight. Let's put it into position and let's make this bigger. Okay. So I'm going to pull this up so that we can see it now and rotate it around We want to get it roughly about the same size as the bridge. Might even push it up a little bit on there, and then something like this. I might even push it on this side a bit. Yep, okay, looking good. So that is now in place of the bridge. Now, in order to ensure that the bridge is not taken into account when we bake the mesh again, we need to switch that bridge off. So I'm just going to call this cube, I'll call it bridge cube so that I can easily find it again. So I'm just going to switch off the bridge cube for now. I'm going to click on an area of the bridge, and remember it's called struct docking. And I might even just make a quick note of that at the moment. So struct docking, just to make sure that I can switch it back on again, because I need to switch it off. So in the inspector, we're simply going to switch off its visibility. Anything that is invisible at the time in which you're baking is not considered for the bake. Let's go right back down to the bottom again and switch on the bridge cube. Okay, there we go. So that will be in place of the bridge, just for the nav mesh, just for it being baked. Once it's down there, we can obviously get rid of that bridge cube once it's served its purpose. Okay, so that's really the only thing that I needed to consider there. If you want to place any more in, feel free to do so. Now ensure to set the bridge cube to static so that it will actually show up in the actual bake. If you don't put it static, nothing will happen. Okay, and obviously it will create that nice sort of straight mesh, nav mesh, straight over that bridge. Alright, it won't be overly complicated. And now we're going to start the process of baking the mesh. But this time we don't want the water to be part of that. So let's click on the water plane where it says water plane 2. Okay, and we need to go to navigation, and we need to go where it says object, and it shows that we have this selected. Navigation area, is it going to be walkable or not walkable? Alright, so we need to tell it to make the entire water area not walkable. Great, so now we're almost ready to bake. The agent radius, I'm actually going to reduce this a little bit. I'm going to reduce it down to 0.4. The smaller this gets, the longer it takes to bake. Alright, so be careful about reducing this too much. The agent height, slope and step height are all good. Alright, but by reducing it down to 0.4, it means that it's going to get a lot more detailed. Now we also have an advanced section as well. The manual voxel size, you will notice that if I change this, so let me change it to 0.6, you will notice that that automatically changes based on the agent radius. We put it back to 0.4 and now it's 0.13333, etc. You can click on there and manually change it, but I prefer to do it through the agent radius. Okay, the minimum region area at the moment is 2. I'm going to reduce this down to 1. What that means is the actual areas that you can walk through, or that the gaps between these areas become smaller, so that it will actually map to a more kind of detailed degree. Alright, so if there's certain areas, let's say, that are only 1 meter apart, it will actually still map through there. Before, because it was 2 meters, it meant if there were an area that was 1.5 meters, it would be completely ignored from the baking process. So if you were to reduce this down to like 0.2 or something ridiculous like that, even tiny little gaps will get mesh mapped. Okay, but 1, it should be sufficient. We don't want a height mesh, because if we put a height mesh on, it makes the character walking up steps. It looks really weird. Okay, I'm not too keen on that. But it does serve its purposes in other areas, but we don't need it at the moment. Okay, so we're good to go. I'm going to click bake. This is probably going to take quite a long time, so I'll see you in the next video.